Hi, I'm John and welcome to the Jigsaw Puzzler. Today's puzzle is the largest puzzle that I have presented on this channel, my first 2,000 piece jigsaw puzzle. It's only just large enough to fit on my puzzle board on this desktop. So doing it, as you'll see from the time lapse, was a bit of a juggle in terms of sorting trays and things like that. The puzzle is from Ravensburger and it is called Map of the World from 1650. The image is as described in the title. It is literally a map of the world produced in 1650. Let's have a quick look around the image. We'll talk about the quality of the puzzle and then I'll most certainly go into details about my strategies for doing such a large puzzle. Alright, so around the puzzle. First of all, in the centre of the puzzle is the actual map itself. The map is made up of several components. There's a long title at the top in Latin, Nova Totius Terrarum Orbis Geographica ac Hydrographica Tabula. And then there is the map itself showing the various continents on the Earth as they were known in 1650. There is a large sort of piece of writing here about the discovery of America with some figures around, decorative figures around the outside, and two smaller ones down the bottom here. Then there are two circular maps, one here for the North Pole, one here for the South Pole. The map itself is divided with a line down the centre. We use the meridian that runs through Greenwich in London and have as the universal standard for quite a long time now. But prior to that being set as a standard, there were other lines that we used as the reference point to measure distances around the world. And on this map, it's set out here. There is also the equator here, the Tropic of Cancer, the Tropic of Capricorn, the Arctic Circle and the Antarctic Circle. So all the major grid lines on the globe, on a map. The map has also got a large number of details in the ocean. There are many ships, fantastical creatures, fish, flying fish, and all sorts of details in the sea part of the map. Around the outside are a series of illustrations. Down this side are the four elements, the four medieval elements. Fire, air, water and earth. So they're the four elements down the side. This side has got the four seasons. So we have summer, spring, autumn and winter down this side. Across the top, it says in the letters in the pink triangles in between them, it says Septem Planetae, the 7 planets. Now they aren't the 7 planets that we would know because we don't have 7 planets, we've got 9 planets in the solar system, but 7 planets as they understood them. Luna, which is the moon, Mercury, Venus, Sol, which is the sun, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn. And they were the planets as known to Europeans at the time, to the whole world, because they are visible with the naked eye. And they've got the moon and the sun as part of the planetary system going around an Earth-centered model of the solar system. Across the bottom, to complement the 7 across the top, we have 7 across the bottom, and they are, it says, Septem Mirabilia Mundi, 7 wonders of the world. So we have the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the Colossus of Rhodes, the Pyramids in Egypt, the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus, the Temple of Diana or Artemis at Ephesus. We have the Temple of Jupiter at Olympus, or the statue of Jupiter or Zeus at Olympus, and the Pharos, the famous lighthouse in the city of Alexandria. So that's a description of what we find on the puzzle. In terms of quality, well, top quality, Ravensburger. Couldn't be anything else. However, I will say that when I tipped the pieces out into a number of sorting trays, there was a lot of dust with this one. It took me a while to separate puzzle pieces from dust in sorting trays and then just to tip the dust out into the rubbish. The pieces are nice and thick. They fit together very well. They're not a loose fit, but not a particularly tight one either. It's got a semi-gloss sort of matte finish, a little bit of a gloss finish, so it's not too bad to do under lights. It holds together nicely. I reckon for a 2,000 piece puzzle, I can get this off the table. There we go. Not many 2,000s you could do that with. But with Ravensburger, definitely. All right. So, how did I do this puzzle? The tips and tricks for tackling this one. I have to say that I think this puzzle took me somewhere in the vicinity of about 10 hours to complete. Probably 10 and a half, something like that. I didn't time it exactly. I'm just going off the timings that I took for the time lapse, but I can estimate that it took me about 10 hours of fairly solid work. I did it across 3 days. It was given to me as a gift, and the people who gave it to me as a gift were quite surprised that I had completed it so quickly. But this was quite enjoyable to do. It was a challenge, there's no doubt about it. It's not an easy puzzle, but it is quite enjoyable. So, how did I do this puzzle? Well, when you've got a puzzle this size, you have to have a bit of a strategy in mind. I simply don't have the space to spread out all the pieces or to have endless numbers of sorting trays to get everything visible. So what was my strategy? Well, first of all, I pulled out of the box certain things. I was looking for particular elements to this puzzle. When I looked at the image on the box, I could see, well, I would always pull the edge pieces out. But because all of the edge pieces have exactly the same pattern on them, I decided that I would not start with the edge first. I knew the puzzle was about the size of the board, a little bit smaller, so I decided to put the edge pieces, pull them out, put them to one side and not do them straight away. What did I pull out? Well, the first thing I pulled out was a pile of red lines, thick red lines, which essentially formed the border of the map and the inner borders of the 4 elements and the 4 seasons on either side. So that was one pile. The second pile I pulled out was the equator and the meridian down the middle of the puzzle. That's because they have a very distinctive pattern. They are alternate sort of pink and black rectangles all the way down and all the way across. They're the same on both, but they form their own pattern. Also, at either side of the map, there is the same pattern, but just with grey and white. So they were all together, but I knew that I would end up having to separate them. So anything with that particular pattern on it, which were these 2 edges, the central meridian and the equator, came off into a pile. The third thing that came off were narrow red lines or pinkish red lines, and they formed the lines that go across. So the Tropic of Cancer, the Tropic of Capricorn, the Arctic and the Antarctic Circle lines right across the puzzle. So they were a little bit distinctive. There's 2 sections here of very, very fancy calligraphy writing. I'm not too bad at reading some of these things, but that I'm struggling to make sense out of. It is so fancy and so curly, and given the joins in the puzzle pieces, it does make it a little harder to read. But I could see that they were patches on their own, so I pulled those out. I pulled out banks of writing, so as many as I could find of these 3 panels of writing. And the other thing that I thought could be easy to start with are the 2 circles, the North Pole and the South Pole. And I came across the pink rim here the pink circle rim on both of them, and then any piece that seemed to have lines of latitude or longitude that were in made a circle pattern, either circular themselves or radiated around a point. They all went together, and I figured that I could sort out the North Pole from the South Pole once I got into it. The other thing that I did was I could see that these images around the outside all looked quite different from the map. So I ended up with a sorting tray with map pieces in it. So anything that looked like that it came off the map went into one tray, and anything that looked like it belonged to one of these pictures from around the edge went into another tray. And I thought, well, I'll sub-sort those at a later point once I've got some of this underway. So I really did some very broad sorting. The map, the border, the edges, and then some of the individual features that were basically my starting point for putting it together. I started with the circles. They seemed to me to be the easiest thing of all to do. I knew they weren't very big, and I knew there were just two of them, and so it didn't take a lot of effort to actually piece the circles together. There were also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 compass roses or half compass roses. They weren't hard to find, and so I managed to piece some of those together. And then I pieced some of the words together that I could find, any of those word pieces. So I did these little bits, and I kind of knew where they would approximately be. And so then I worked on these lines. I thought to myself that I really needed to get some structure to this so that I could figure out where everything was and what size everything was. What is the scale that I'm dealing with here? So I worked on the red lines, and that really helped to define the map for me. I got the red lines in. I did the meridian and the equator. I did these two edges here with the black and white check. And then I did the pink lines just to divide up this whole section into more achievable parts. Then, bless the map maker, whose name is there, Guillermo Blau, William Blau, and I'm assuming it was a Dutch map maker, given that Blau is a Dutch surname, has made this map. Bless him for colouring in each of the continents a different colour. Almost. Africa is orange. Europe is pink, but there are a couple of other pink patches over here in North America and over here in the Far Eastern part of Asia. Asia is green, but it has a lot of yellow mountains on it. North America and South America are yellow, but as I said, there's some yellow elsewhere on it. This is paler yellow over here in Asia. This is a deeper yellow over here. And then we have this pale green edge that goes all the way across the bottom of the great unknown Southland, Terra Australis Incognita. Where I come from is over here, and the only part of where the whole continent that I live on that actually exists in real life is this little bit here, and with the single word, beach. That's all they knew. 1606, Dutch sailors sailed into the Gulf of Carpentaria in far north Queensland and sighted the Australian mainland for the first time, the first Europeans to sight the mainland. Other Dutch explorers came after that, including Abel Tasman, who hit the coast of Tasmania right down the bottom in 1642. That's not depicted on this map, even though the map is from 1650. He may well have still been out on voyages, and that information hadn't made it back to this map maker. However, all of the Great Southland, most of which doesn't exist, is depicted as this green and grey line across the bottom of the map. So welcome to beach, and here we are. Right, so what did I do then? So I sorted by continent. There are also some words here on the map that made it a bit easy to put things together. And words make things so easy because they go upright. They're read a certain way. Even though some of these place names are written on angles around coastlines, none of them are upside down. They all can be read the right way up. But there are some large-scale letters on the map. For example, it says Mar del Sur, Mar Pacificum, Mar del Norte, Mar de India, America Septentrionalis, and then the words across the top, and it says Magellanica. Okay, I picked through by colour. I didn't do a sort on this. I'm actually not a big sorter when it comes to puzzles. I love to get into the puzzle, and I don't mind the sensation of raking my fingers through the pieces as I'm looking. I do try to turn them all over so I can see what I'm looking at, so I kind of like to pick through and shuffle things around. So I went and focused on the central section here with Africa and Europe. Up close, some of the shades of orange and the shades of pink used here are quite similar, so I found it easier just to do them together as a block. I did do some of Asia as well, because that's just a large green section, and all of the yellow, pale yellow mountains I discovered were over here, so I could at least pull them out of the box and sort them and put them together as and when I needed. Over here with North and South America. South America was very easy to put together. It's not actually very large on the map. North America is a lot more open-ended. They obviously haven't charted the whole northern coast of Canada. And all of this green and pink section in here was a little bit confusing. Obviously, a lot of the islands and the coastal areas of northeastern Canada and Greenland. So there was a lot of surmise, obviously, about where things actually were, and the green and the pink colouring here was a little bit confusing with separating it from Europe and Asia. There's a tiny bit of pink over here on New Guinea as well, so that was a little bit of a deception, a very small one. So once I started getting those together, you could just fill in the gaps pretty easily. There's enough areas, like borders between countries in each of these continents, so that even the central pieces of South America, for example, have yellow on them. The central pieces of Africa have orange on them. The central pieces of Europe are pink. So you can pick those out and just work your way around the coastline and build that and fill in the gaps. And of course, all of that started to join together onto these lines, the equator and the other lines that are across the map. And they really, really did help to grid things off a little bit. Because of the open-endedness of North America, that was a bit more challenging. But once you got used to it, you could sort of tell where things were going to be. This portion of the map here, yes, mostly this whole section of the map here, is a slightly different colour than the rest of it. It's a bit darker, what I might call a little bit dirtier. Then it was just a matter of going around and filling in the gaps. Finding the ships, for example. There are quite a few sailing ships. I don't even know how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 at least, that I can see off the top of my head. 13 ships, and any number of fish, flying fish, and all sorts of other bits and pieces in there. The beauty of this puzzle is that even though it's so large, there is not a single piece on it which is entirely blank. We have all of the latitude and longitude lines on the map, so every piece at least has part of that on it. But every piece, just about every piece, has a bit of something else, whether it's writing, ships, fish, coastline, names of towns and regions, the green line that goes across here for the mysterious southern land, bits of these medallions that are here on the map. Something on every piece, just about every piece. There's only a relatively small number that only have a line of latitude or longitude or both on it. Now the pieces we have multiple piece shapes, so it's not all just 2 up and 2 down. We have the full range of standard piece shapes, so that again also makes it easy to work out where different pieces fit. So then I came to the border. So the border, I had to look more closely at this to figure out how I was going to put it together. A few observations that I made. The 7 planets across the top all have a rainbow across them with the name of the planet in them. So that was rainbow plus writing. So I could pull out all of those pieces and put them to one side. In between each of the oval-shaped panels, there is this sort of pinkish red triangle with a letter in it, spelling out Septem Planetae or Septem Mirabilia Mundi, and I could pull all of those out and then figure out from what they said and how they go together where each of those were. So I could space those apart, top and bottom, across the jigsaw. The top section here with the 7 planets, the other thing they all have in common that is nowhere else on the puzzle is that the bottoms of each one of the 7 panels has got basically a pink and a blue stripe together. So the pink, land of some sort, I don't know, just a base, and then sea, because most of the planets, in fact all of them, are figures depicted, personified as figures driving a chariot and across water. So different things, pulling the chariots. This chariot up in the corner here is being pulled by, it looks like people. This one by a couple of birds. This one also by some birds. This one by horses, a couple of eagles, and a dragon. So something to do with each of the gods that those planets represent, perhaps. But we get this blue and pink base that all of the chariots are on. And it means we get 7 chariot wheels as well. So I was able to figure out that, and I pretty much do a stripe along there, which was the pink bases, and the blue, start of the blue for each one of those. Down the bottom for the 7 wonders, these illustrations also have writing on them, so the names of the 7 wonders. And the illustrations themselves are a lot smaller, a lot finer in detail. The pieces do actually start to pop out after a while in the sorting tray as being distinct from all of the others. Everything else seems to be of a similar scale, although these ones in the side are the biggest scale, followed by the top, but these ones seem to be the finest. They have the smallest people on them. They have finely drawn buildings and just sort of more muted colours and easier to pull out of the tray. So I did get all of those out, and then what I did was pull out all the bits to make the cartouche shaped panels that they are all in. All 7 at the top and all 7 at the bottom. The side panels proved to be the hardest part of these figures because they are all similar scale, and I would pick up a piece and there would be a number of places any piece could go. This one and this one, or this one here and that one there. So it did take a little bit of looking at the box to think, okay, that this piece belongs with that figure, this piece belongs with that figure, and to kind of put it together a little bit piecemeal at a time. Then, right at the end, I did the edge. I got the entire puzzle together, minus the edge. How did I do the edge? Well, very slowly, to be honest. All of the pieces that have a knob at the top of them, like this one, at this top here, the knob frequently had something else on it. So I was able to go around the puzzle and see what the something else was, find its rightful home and put those in. And in the end, I had almost every second piece in all the way around. It actually looked quite funny to see it looking like it's a tooth-edged puzzle. I did have some of the other bits in as well, but it meant that I could do half of the edge reasonably easily. The filling in the gaps bit, well, some of the other pieces have fragments of what's above it. And then, of course, there's the colour variations in the gold border itself. Down the bottom here, it's quite pale. Up the top, it's reasonably dark. So you do get colour gradation that you can follow as you're going around. And then finally, of course, I got the whole thing in. And lo and behold, here we are, map of the world from 1650. Look, I hope those tips have been really helpful to you. I find that with a very large puzzle, breaking it down into smaller sections, even if you just even some just general sorting that you know that you're going to have to do a further sort with those pieces, is a really helpful way of breaking it down, because 2,000 pieces can be quite intimidating to do. I don't do very many of them. I don't actually have very many 2,000 piece puzzles, but I have to say that the tactic of breaking it down into sections is one that I think I have found particularly useful in a puzzle like this. Well, if you'd like to click like and subscribe, share the channel with your puzzling friends, I'd really appreciate that. You can leave your comments below about anything to do with this puzzle, map puzzles, or any other puzzling comment that you would like to make. Please feel free to do that. We're going to have the time lapse. It is enormously sped up. It's 10 hours worth in about 4 minutes, about 5 minutes maybe. So it is hugely sped up. But we're going to have that now. And thank you for watching.